Open mic time. Too bad we have nothing to talk about after that Cowboys game. Jeff Skinwade still kind enough to come in. Appreciate it.
You got it, man. Anytime.
105.3 The Fan is where you can hear this guy, and you also get to see him at Mavericks home games in the not-too-distant future.
Yeah.
So you will be a busy man coming up.
Basketball season gets cranking, and it becomes nuts for sure. But that's a good time.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little Cowboys. You know, we haven't had a real nail-biter like this all year long, really, but we have had them a lot in the last few seasons. This time, though, Dallas was able to come away with a victory.
Yeah, and I do wonder a little bit if this wasn't the kind of game they lost in the past. I think that there's one of those situations where, you know, the team is 4-1, and you can nitpick some of these wins, but honestly, I thought they would be 2-3, maybe 3-2 at best right now, so I don't want to beat them up too much. I think they got a couple gifts. I think it was nice that once Houston was just running it up the gut, they decided to throw it on 3rd and 2 inexplicably in overtime there. But the Cowboys got the win. Tony Romo looks good. I think that's the number one thing you want to feel good about. And so at 4-1, you got to like their chances right now to at least make some noise in their division.
Let's beat them up a little bit. Anyway.
Okay, cool. Why not?
Yeah,
that's fine.
Now, this drama wouldn't have happened without a collapse at the end of regulation.
Right.
Cowboys were up 10 with 9:44 remaining. Texans had horrible clock management. Seemed like they were almost throwing any kind of comeback away, but the Cowboys matched that mismanagement and we ended up with a tie at the end of regulation.
Yeah, they ended up with a tie at the end of regulation. And, I think the main thing is that for this team, we feel good about their offense. It's like whether or not the defense is going to be able to hang into those games. And it really is night and day when Rolando McClain is on and off the field. It's nuts that a guy that we probably didn't feel like we could count on ended up being such a critical component to this team. And when he wasn't on the field, you felt like they weren't going to get it done. I think ultimately, the Cowboys, I'm sure you heard Tony Romo after the game talking about it basically being a road game for them.
Right.
They don't really have the home field support right now, and there's been a lot of discussion about that. But I think if this fan base had ultimate confidence in the team, they wouldn't be selling their tickets. They would be packing that place out. But maybe at 4-1 and getting some gutty wins, I think coming back from, 3 touchdowns down a couple weeks ago, that was a gutty win. And so when you look at it, all up and down the NFL, there's teams that lose and win games that they shouldn't win and lose. But at the end of the day, the Cowboys are 4-1. I think people start feeling good about it, and you can feel good about where this team is headed from here on out.
And it's interesting, too, because Jerry Jones almost denied, a big 49er contingent at the start of the season. Seemed like it wasn't a big deal against the Saints, but now here we are again with this whole fanaticism issue.
Yeah, and I think with, the Texans and the Saints, you can kind of justify that because these are people that are close by. I don't know how you justify the Niners thing. But again, sometimes people will sell their tickets to fund the rest of their season tickets, for example. Let's see what happens now. Now that the Cowboys are 4-1, we probably are going to go lose in Seattle next week, but there's some winnable games coming up on the schedule. Let's see if people actually keep their tickets and support the team right now.
DeMarco Murray has another 100-yard performance. He's done that 5 times in his first 5 games this season. Something not even Emmitt Smith accomplished. The only other 2 backs in the history of the NFL to pull this off, O.J. Simpson and Jim Brown. That is nice company to be with. It's
nice company to be with, and I don't want to take anything away from DeMarco Murray because, you got to go out there and do it. I saw the stat going into this week. I haven't seen it since, but DeMarco Murray, if you took away his yards after contact, would still be 3rd in the NFL in rushing.
Wow.
3rd in the NFL in rushing just to contact. What does that tell you? This is an incredible offensive line. And guys on Sports Talk Radio, you can't trust those guys, but they have been beating up Jerry in the front office for their drafting. But they absolutely got it right when they devoted 3 first-round picks in a 4-year span to their offensive line. All 3 of those guys look like they're going to hit. I mean, it's early on Zach Martin, but you feel good about it. And this is the end result. DeMarco Murray's been good. Take away the fumbles, that's a problem. But I give the majority of the credit to this rushing game to the offensive line. It's DeMarco Murray now with the rumors that he's going to have possible extension talks. If I'm the Cowboys, I'd table that for a month and say, hey, we'll get back to you in a month. Let us know how many times you spit the pill up. And if he can go the next 4 games without coughing up the pill, then maybe start those talks again.
He hasn't had a full season where he's been healthy. And with Joseph Randle and Lance Dunbar playing relatively well up to this point, that may also factor into what they want to do with DeMarco.
Those guys barely get carries, though, right? And I think one of the plays of the game was Joseph Randle just getting in J.J. Watt's space enough to where he didn't kill Romo. If you remember, that was the play where Watt came in and at the end took off Romo's helmet and Romo made that crazy sidearm pass to Witten. Joseph Randle's known for not being a good blocker, but that play may have saved the season for the Cowboys, because if J.J. Watt comes in untouched, Tyron whiffed on that. J.J. comes in untouched, your season could end because Romo goes to the carpet.
Improvement in the backfield all the way around. Now let's talk about this defense. They've played pretty well this season, allowing 17 points in back-to-back wins over the Saints and Texans. How do you evaluate this through 5 games?
Well, considering I thought it was going to be an absolute disaster, I give them, a B or whatever. Rod Marinelli seems to be making the most with what they have. I think the thing that's encouraging is that there seems to be, barring another major injury, a chance for them to actually get better, right? DeMarcus Lawrence will come back halfway through the season. Spencer, will build up his stamina, maybe get healthier and stronger. They don't have any huge playmakers up front, but if they can do it by committee and still have some fresh legs late in the game, that was a real problem late in the game as the Texans were just running it up the gut against that front seven. But I feel like it's much better than we thought it was going to be. And as long as they're opportunistic, then you can feel okay about their offense being able to keep them in games and the defense not losing them games.
Defense has helped the Cowboys get to a 4-1 record. If the Cowboys go 6-5 the rest of the way, they would finish 10-6, probably win the NFC East. There was a time when we speculated whether Garrett could survive the full season.
Right.
Now this team looks like they've adopted his personality.
Yeah, and what's going to be really critical, and by the way, I want to give him credit for that, because I thought, all right, he's been here for 3 full seasons of 8-8. Surely the message has worn off, because, guys hear the same thing. They want to have success behind that for the message to carry weight. But you like the way that they've shown perseverance. Everybody counted them off this season. I thought they were a 5 or 6 win team. They look to be better than that, obviously. If they're a 5 or 6 win team now, it's a total disaster. But, you got to give Garrett some credit for that, for sure. And I do think it matters that Linehan is here.
Yes.
Because Garrett wanted Linehan. Garrett didn't want Callahan calling plays. They openly clashed with one another. If you're a player, how are you supposed to feel when your coach doesn't even have an offensive coordinator that he wants, and they're, openly fighting? That's a bad scene for the coach. And so I give, Jerry and Steven and those guys credit for allowing, Jason to have an offensive coordinator that he's comfortable with, bringing Linehan in. And I love the way the offense has looked so far this season. And a healthy Romo makes all the difference.
And the schedule looks like it may favor the Cowboys over the next 5 weeks. Let's take a look at that. Next week, of course, they go to Seattle. That's going to be a dandy. And then 3 straight home games: Giants, Redskins, and Cardinals. And then the big London trip. What is your prediction for this stretch?
I'd be ecstatic with 3-2. I think, the 2 you want to win, obviously, is the Washington and the Giants game at home, because those are divisional games. I think we all feel like the Cowboys should win that game at Jacksonville. Seattle's a tough, tall task. But I will say this. A month ago, I thought they were going to get beat at Seattle like 98-4, like 2 weird safeties. But actually, I think they're going to go be competitive. I don't expect them to win, since Russell Wilson's only lost 1 game in the history of that stadium. But I think the Cowboys will be competitive. The Arizona game is kind of a swing game.
Sure.
Win your Washington and New York game. Win that Jacksonville game in London, and feel pretty good about where you are.
In about 15 seconds, can you give us a Mavericks outlook?
Yes. They will vie to be like, the 3rd or 4th best team in the Western Conference, significantly better than last year. It's all going to be about their defense and their health, but you should like this Maverick team. Much better than last year.
Ben and Skin Show airs weekdays from 3 to 7 on 105.3 The Fan. Jeff Skin Wade, it is always a pleasure.
Thanks, man.